Welcome one, welcome all to the second Campus Jobs podcast. Thank you to all the returning listeners. So a lot of students struggle with financial difficulties whilst at university. I myself tried to balance 3 part-time jobs in my second year alongside my degree and the social aspects that come with studying at uni. Needless to say, it was no piece of cake and I would not recommend. I had many a stressful night. Today I'm joined by the director of Henley Careers to talk to you about side hustles. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, hello, nice to be on the podcast. So I'm Naeema Pasha. I'm, as you say, director of Henley Careers, but I look after career development and also looking at the future of work as well.
Well, it's lovely to have you on the podcast. My first official guest. I am a bit nervous. I don't know if anybody can tell, but we'll go past the nerves. So just to explain, if any of you don't know what a side hustle is, it's a way to make some extra cash that allows you the flexibility to pursue what you're most interested in. It can also be your true passion, a chance to delve into fashion, travel, or whatever it is you care about the most without impacting on your studies or even your day job. Naeema, my guest this week, she is my guest because she has a side hustle, don't you?
Yeah, one of my side hustles is advising people about side hustles.
Yeah. So this is like your side hustle?
This is partly my side hustle. So the last time I talked about it was with a group of female entrepreneurs in London who are looking to set up side hustles, and they are people working. They're called the millennial women side hustles. So they were women in their late 20s, early 30s. So I was working with them to help them.
Oh, so do you advise them on the side hustle?
So help them more about the development side of it. So a little bit on the business development, but a lot of that is already sorted from their perspective. It's more about the mindset and how they should go about it, and how, what qualities they need to bring out in order to develop their side hustle.
Because when I started researching into side hustles, I wasn't sure what the main differentiation was between a side hustle and a part-time job. And maybe the way I've described it, would you?
So what we're looking at in side hustles, and it came from particularly the white paper that we did last year in Henley Business School. It's looking at that you have your main job. So for students, you've got your main you're studying. If you're a full-time student, you're studying full-time. So it's looking at things alongside that. So, but if you're working, you'd be working, working at the business school or working in, I don't know, in Deloitte, or you're working as a teacher or whatever you're doing, and then you're looking at something which is bringing you income, but it's not just about part-time jobs. So you could be doing your studies and then working at Asda or something, and that we would say that's useful, but we'll probably look at something. A side hustle is more entrepreneurial, looking at something where you're developing your
so it's an actual business kind of aspect to it rather than just a part-time job.
That's the angle we looked at more so in our white paper.
Well, I'm glad you've clarified it for everyone, because I wasn't sure. What would you say, having a side hustle and a full-time job, I should say, what would you think is the hardest thing to overcome when you start your side hustle initially?
It's getting going. So getting the first starting point to get moving is the most difficult side. So start connecting with potential customers, start doing market research, start seeing if your product or service has legs. So a lot of people will keep their idea quite conceptual for quite a long time, including me. This is kind of a normal kind of thing, and finding space for it, especially if you're working or studying full time, making space for something when you're so pushed for time is something you've really got to consider. So in some ways, doing something like a part-time job where you get your income is more contained, so you've got the hours that you do in that. Whereas a business startup, you've got to think about a lot more about the business and how you're going to incorporate that in.
And I guess when you start a business, they do say that it's going to take a long time and a lot more effort than when the business, if your business was to grow and progress, and it's always, you put more effort in at the start to...
Although I'd say I think recognising that a business takes effort, so even when running a business takes effort as well, so, and keeping your potential, so you might be selling something, but then you've got to get new markets, so that also takes energy. So just to know that it takes it's going to take time out of your existing time. So
so you'll have no sleep.
There is some things that people talk about in the side hustling thing, is that kind of come to terms with the fact you've got to make some sacrifices over others in order for you to put the hours in to
so
get
that would
what
probably,
you want.
I mean, it would probably impact more on your social life then, wouldn't it? If you can't, because you've got your main job where you need your income, and then you want to grow this, and then, you know, there's only so many aspects to a person's life that they can
I would say,
take time
and
from.
you've really got to weigh that up if it's important to you, because there will be some sacrifices because you are working longer hours. That's just the way it is.
Well, to put a positive spin on it, because we're talking about what the hardest thing is, can we flip it a little bit and say what from your experience, what you found the biggest benefit of your side hustle is?
So our research showed that more and more people are looking at doing side hustles. So it's a growing area, and the growth area. So we found in our research that actually 1 in 4 adults, that's 25% of the adult population, is undertaking side hustles. So people are doing some kind of So, and that figure is growing, and the biggest percentage within that, just to give you all the facts and data,
go for it.
Are younger people, because people looking at, and I think that's, people look at work differently, because whereas perhaps an older generation would be thinking, you're going to start a job, you'll be there for a long time, you're going to give your contribution to that company, and in return they give you the salary and benefits and security. But people nowadays thinking, well, that security, that, you know, jobs for life isn't there, so therefore I'm going to pursue other interests as well. So first of all, it makes sense because you've got another line of income. But in addition, like you said right at the beginning when you introed the whole piece, was about passions, and so you could be working on a particular area that you think, I really, you know, you're working, say you've decided to become an accountant or a teacher, you think, I love this is what I'm doing and I really enjoy it, but there's this other side of you that you particularly enjoyed previously, which is more creative, say, or just more businessy or something like that, and you want to pursue that gives you that outlet, because the other side of it, unlike a part-time job, you can choose your hours a little bit more.
Exactly. So when I was looking into it, I was reading all this stuff, and I immediately thought of these two girls who I went to school with. They were twins. Their mother had a full-time job, but they were all really creative as a family, so they used to make jewellery just in their spare time at home, and then they'd come to like our school fetes and sell them, and it was really popular. And now I'm thinking, that was a side hustle.
That's the classic side hustle.
But at the time, like, you wouldn't know, because when did the term side hustle, like,
it's an American
develop?
term, which you can probably imagine. It's been around a time, but I think there was a book, I forgot the guy's name actually. It's called Guy.
Is he called Guy?
Yeah, he's called Guy.
Well, if you're listening.
He's called Guy something, and he wrote a book about side hustling. And then there's a woman who is called Emma, and I can't remember her surname, but she's got a book.
Shout out to Guy and Emma.
She's got a book called Working the 5 till 9. So
like yes,
but not 9 to 5. The 5 to 9.
Oh right.
Yeah,
gosh.
So like Dolly Parton, but Dolly Parton had the side hustle. So she says that. So the 5 to 9, when work's done, that you're working on the other thing. So that was about 10 years ago that these books came out. I'm just shoving stuff out there, guesstimating.
And so for you, what would you say would be your biggest benefit of the side hustle? Would it be the fact that you can explore your passion?
Yes, and I think there's several things that come from it. You can explore your passion. It's actually quite. People talk about having a sense of autonomy, that you're doing your own thing, that nobody's saying, "Oh, you've got to do this by then."
Yeah.
So there's sort
of
you can
be your own boss.
You can be your own boss and be a bit more kind of creative with your ideas. Not necessarily, you don't necessarily need to be a creative person, because you could be choosing something that's not creative, but you have your own boss and have a bit of autonomy, and it's something that's yourself, and it's always something to fall back on if you want to think, I want to leave full-time work for a while or something, or take a gap year, which could happen at the end of studies, or it could be happening in the middle of a career or something. You can look at something else which perhaps bring an income in.
Well, I'm not going to lie, I've already thought, you know how you imagine where your life is going, and you're like, well, in 10 years time, in 5 years time, in my mind I'm like, I'm going to have a full-time job, but I'll only be working 4 days a week, because I think everybody loves to work one day from home or something like that. So maybe now I'll change it, so it's like I'll work 4 days a week, and then then my 5th day will be my side hustle day.
That's
And I could
amazing,
choose
because we've written another white paper
Ooh.
for better, for worse, which is always thinks we should start a wedding business, a wedding side hustle. But it's actually about the 4-day week. And one of the aspects that we've looked into it, why people might want to do a 4-day week, is for a day, for the 4 days or the 3 days, because you look in extended weekend where you're doing your own side hustle.
Yeah.
So there's interesting
Maybe
things
maybe they're growing in the because I mean I hadn't looked into side hustles a while ago, but I already thought, oh well, I'll in my dream scenario I'll be working a 4-day week, so there we go. Now I know what to do with my 5th day. In the other white paper that you mentioned called the Side Hustle Economy, you talk about the importance of trust and the idea of a new psychological contract. Would you mind expanding on that a little bit?
Of course.
Okay.
So, traditional kind of workplaces that you go, as I've just talked about, the 9 to 5, and you go there and you have your hours lunch break or whatever it is, and your employer, whoever they are, expecting you to come in and do that kind of commitment during that time.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes with the side hustle, it might not be just your Friday, for example. There might be some other aspects that you need to do when you were in the workplace, which might seem a bit odd, because you are employed by your main employer. You have to give that, but what an employer might be thinking is that you're coming into the workplace using the free Wi-Fi, using the printing off the stuff, and thinking you're not really committed to this. You're really committed to your side business. This is just a way of you doing that. That could happen. Some employers may think this. So what I'm suggesting is that a psychological contract is this thing that you go to work, like I said, you go to work, you get paid, you get training, you get development, and in return, you give loyalty. And that was like the old psychological contract at workplace. And I'm saying it's got to change a little bit and be more flexible, because employers aren't giving long-term job security, because no employer can nowadays. Training development they do give, but a lot of it is still down to the employee to sort of develop their own training plan. And they know that they could bring in change. Look, we're going to do a restructure, we're going to do this. So they're not getting that kind of stability.
Yeah.
And so I think the two-way side of it is that employers aren't giving perhaps what they used to give in the olden days. By olden days I mean like 10-20 years ago. And so therefore accept that people are working more flexibly. You just talked about the 4-day week as a particular desire, to know that actually, because things are changing in the workplace,
employees' demands are changing.
Yes, exactly. So
their expectations.
And they want to work flexibly. They've got commitments, and it's not just family. It could be side hustle commitments as well. So it's, if you've got a really good person, say you, Caitlin, join the company, and you're doing your side hustle, and during the 4 days that you are there, say, or the 5 days, if you're doing that, that employer is going to get a really committed person. They're creative, they're entrepreneurial. The stuff that they're doing in their side hustle means that their skills are being developed, and that could be used in the organisation. So I think that's what I meant by this whole revisiting of the psychological contract, is to look at trust on both sides being improved.
Would you say that the employers maybe have this preconception about a side hustle, like you say, how they think that you're coming in using the Wi-Fi just to build your side hustle, that the expectation is that your side hustle will become your main business, and you will then leave the the organisation, and that's why they're a bit hesitant.
Absolutely, some people will have that kind of view. So it's down to the employee to really kind of explain it and build that trust. And it's not, when we talk about the employer, it sounds like this sort of like amorphous group of it, but actually it's your boss. So you say, you're talking to the boss or the HR team or whatever, and saying, this isn't going to impinge my work. You can see I'm very committed and I'm doing all these things. This is a way of, an outlet and creativity, and I think it could work well. So if you allow, and I found, because my team do side hustles, so
could you
sure,
name any?
Yeah, of course. So the team are career professionals, and so their daytime is delivering career professional employer related activities for students here at the business school at the university. but many of them are developing side hustles, and some of them are yoga and
I
mindfulness.
like yoga.
Yeah,
Mindfulness has become a big thing now.
So people sort of merging that kind of looking. So somebody's really interested in fitness and health and well-being, and merging that into the classes around yoga, but also about mindfulness and things. So that someone's doing that. One of our team who's brilliant at comedy classes.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So
that's see, you wouldn't expect. I don't know why, but I wouldn't expect those to be side hustles.
So yeah, and looking at how it can help people release. Again, it's kind of linked to what we do as career people. We want to enable students to be the best they can be, and so we're looking at different ways of doing that. Yoga might be one, but another way might be learning how to do effective comedy, and because then you can communicate better. So one of our team is doing that. I've got another someone else in the team who works with Lego, and there's something called Lego Serious Play. So
I've actually had a session with him.
Yes, you came over to do your stuff, didn't you?
I thought it was so fun.
Yeah,
but
so
also I didn't. She was getting us to like conceptualize these things through Lego, and you'd go, oh, I don't think I can do it, but then bam, there you are. Yeah, I found it so like the way you can put your thoughts into Lego. Honestly, I know. I was impressed.
There you go. So she does that. That's her side hustle to run that for teams.
What would you say to the people who would argue that because it's your passion that you're turning into a business, you might find that your love for whatever it is that you're doing diminishes? Does that tend to happen? Would you?
Yeah, I don't know.
Or would you say it grows because you're developing it? I'm not sure.
See, I think what happens is that when you're working in an organisation and you're doing similar things on a regular basis, that could be diminishing. So in some ways, doing something like a side hustle can give you a little bit of a boost for doing something extra. And it might not be like the Friday off to do something might be quite useful, or it might be a weekend a month might be a side hustle, because that's when I did my working with the millennial group is at a weekend, and that was good because it was nice, and it wasn't, and it was just a little boost, and it was a lovely experience, but it didn't. So it wasn't so it added, I think, to my experience of the workplace. You know what I'm saying? So I think an argument would be a pro for side hustling is that it can keep you motivated because it's giving you a little bit of variety in your work and a different sense of achievement.
That's great.
Yeah.
Would you to all the university students and people looking out there for jobs, would you say that you can mention your side hustle on your CV? That's not something that you have to leave off.
Yeah, no, I think you should mention it. And I run a session for students as well. So I ran it last year. So for the first time, I'm running it again in spring term again. So and it was the most.
Look out for it, guys.
Yeah, I expect everybody to do that. But that was really good because it was our busiest. It was the most. It was really. I remember it because it was really cold, and I thought people are going to turn up because it's so cold. But they all trudged over. From agriculture or whatever they were studying, all over to the business school, and it was the busiest one that we'd had, so it was absolutely packed. And people were there who already had side hustles. So there's a lot of students who have side hustles. And some of them, this is what I want to say, some of them had started them. It was at school, so the kind of tuck shop and selling sweets and things like that. So people had earned quite a lot of money from that, and then they reinvested it into side hustles for when they got to uni. So just to give you some examples, people started creating cards and sending those t-shirts.
Oh my god!
I know, that was really clever to do t-shirts, and you just print the t-shirts and sell that. And the tuck shop thing grew into other kind of catering and event stuff. There was somebody, and then people were talking about people's passion. There was somebody who decided to start a side hustle after that session on sushi and delivering sushi. Wow. I know. So
you inspired people to start their own.
Well, I think they inspired themselves. They were like, you know what, I could do this. And I'm trying to think of some other idea. There's somebody who keeps exotic pets, exotic spiders, and that's part of them. They kind of show them and they get money for that.
I'm not gonna lie, that would probably scare me. I'm not sure I'd go for that.
It was their passion. It was their somebody
the adventure seekers.
Yes. And somebody there said, I'm really, really into K-pop, and that's my thing.
Okay.
And I've decided, I don't know if she did it or not, but I want to run a K-pop society, do some K-pop events and K-pop t-shirts. and start this as rather than just keep it as a thing. I'm sure people in the university, other people must be capable fans.
For sure.
Rather than just do it as a society, sort of like, let's get together about this, but
They're
actually
like one
look
of
at it
the
as a
biggest
business.
bands in the whole of the music industry.
It's a whole genre, isn't it? So it's
Yeah.
quite good. So that's what she went off and thought. I could make money from this. So the thing about this, what Side Hustle is, it's entrepreneurial, and thinking entrepreneurially rather than in other ways. So that's what we're looking at, but in a positive way. I think it's a positive thing.
Yeah. Well, I hope that the people listening to this and listening to you talk, because the way you explain it is positive and it's really uplifting. So I hope people have become inspired. So my final question to you is, what would be your last best piece of advice, either that someone had given to you before you started your side hustle, or something that someone did or said that really stuck with you throughout your ongoing side hustle experience?
Brilliant, thank you. Well, I've just finished my PhD. Just finished that.
Congratulations!
Thank you.
God, you've got so many things going on.
I know. So a couple of months ago, so I graduated in September in Henley. So that was really good. But from that, I'm going to give you something from that actually, because it was researching people looking at managing uncertainty, including side hustles and other things. And actually, my biggest thing I found from that is building resilience. And I can give you specific, because I looked at all different aspects of it, and looking at how we build resilience. And the key thing I want to say is having self-reliance, and that is thinking I can do this, and having a sense of self-belief. And that's the kind of my message I want to give to the world, is to say,
starting now,
is to say, doing anything like studying, doing a job, running a side hustle, you will run into failure, you will run into things that don't work, and this will happen, and you will get a lot of rejection, and things won't, you think, and people criticize, people say, why are you doing that, or whatever, all these things will come together, and you'll think, is this worth doing still? But the people from my research, I could say this is a research base rather than just sort of like a little poster or something, but it's quote on Facebook, something like that. So this is to say that the people that felt they could do it ended up doing things. So it's having that kind of push and moving forward, and because you can overcome barriers. That sounds really cheesy to say, but that's my evidence.
No, I think that's a brilliant way to round off the podcast. I think that's a lovely place to leave it.
Great.
So thank you very much for joining me. I really enjoyed our chat, and I hope that other people will take something away from it. I'm sure they will, because you've given some really good pieces of advice. To end, I would like to thank you for coming on the podcast, and I'd like to say that our next podcast